My family banned my son from Christmas while spoiling my sister's kids, so I cut them off financially and exposed their lies publicly. I never thought I'd be sharing this story on Reddit, but after everything that happened this Christmas, I need to get this off my chest and maybe get some outside perspective. Fair warning, this is going to be a long one, and it's just part one of the whole mess. Some background. I'm 34, female, and I've been raising my 7-year-old son Lucas alone since my husband Chris passed away in a construction accident last year. Being a widow at 34 wasn't exactly in my life plans, but here we are. Some mornings I still reach over to Chris's side of the bed before remembering he's gone. Those moments suck the most. The first few months after the accident were just a blur. Blur isn't even the right word. It was like moving through fog while carrying a boulder. Between the funeral arrangements, paperwork, and trying to keep it together for Lucas, I honestly don't know how I survived. Lucas kept asking when Daddy was coming home, and every time he asked, it felt like someone was stabbing me in the chest. The construction company's insurance paid out $300,000 after Chris's death. Sounds like a lot, right? That's what my family seemed to think. But when you're suddenly a single mom trying to plan for your kid's entire future, well, it's not exactly winning the lottery. I work as a marketing manager at a decent company. Thank God for my boss, Sarah, who's been super understanding about all my schedule changes. So, between my salary and careful budgeting of the insurance money, we're doing okay. Not luxury vacation okay. But we can pay the bills. And Lucas can still do his after-school science program that he loves. The real MVPs in all this have been my in-laws, Mary and Bob. I swear, these people are literal angels or something. They pick up Lucas from school almost every day so I can work normal hours, and they never make me feel guilty about it. Like, they actually want to spend time with him. Mary's always doing science experiments with him. She used to be a teacher. And Bob's teaching him how to build stuff in his workshop. They're the kind of grandparents you see in those cheesy Hallmark movies, you know? But my own parents? Oh boy. That's where this story starts getting complicated. See, I've got an older sister, Amy, who's always been the golden child. And when I say always, I mean always. Remember that episode of The Simpsons where they find a box labeled good child and bad child? Pretty sure my parents have one of those somewhere, LOL. Growing up, Amy could do no wrong. She was the pretty one, the social one, the one who always knew how to make mom and dad happy. Meanwhile, I was the weird kid who liked math and actually wanted to have a career. The horror. Now, Amy's got 3 kids, no job, unless you count selling essential oils on Facebook as a job, and somehow, she's still the favorite. The favoritism was annoying when we were kids, but now that I'm a widow with a young son, it's gone from annoying to straight up painful. Like, my son Lucas is literally the smartest, most curious kid you'll ever meet. His teachers are always telling me how advanced he is for his age, especially in science. But my parents? They act like his curiosity is some kind of character flaw. Example, last month, we were at their house for Sunday dinner. This was before everything went down. And Lucas was fascinated by this antique grandfather clock they have. He was asking all these questions about how it works, what makes it tick, why it makes that specific sound. You know, normal kid stuff. My mom literally rolled her eyes and was like, "Can't you control him? He's always asking questions about everything." Amy's kids never give us this much trouble. Meanwhile, Amy's 3 kids were sprawled out on the couch, faces buried in their iPads, barely acknowledging anyone's existence. And my parents were acting like this was the peak of good behavior. I wish I was making this up. But hey, at least they helped out sometimes, right? Wrong. Every time I asked them to watch Lucas for a few hours, there was always some excuse. Mom's migraine, Dad's back pain, their favorite TV show was on. You name it, they've used it. But for Amy's kids? They drop everything at a moment's notice. I know this is getting long, sorry, but I need you to understand the family dynamic here before I get into the really messed up stuff that went down because trust me, this is just the tip of the drama iceberg. While I was working my way through college and building my career, Amy was, well, let's just say she has a very interesting resume. And by interesting, I mean she hasn't held down a job for more than 6 months since 2015. Here's a quick rundown of Amy's career path just from the last couple of years. Quit her receptionist job because her boss didn't respect her vision translation, asked her to show up on time. Got fired from a retail job for trying to recruit customers into her essential oils MLM, lasted 3 weeks as a waitress. Because it was beneath her potential. Started and failed 4 different small businesses, aka pyramid schemes, in 18 months. Currently, she calls herself a wellness coach, which basically means she spam posts on Facebook about some sketchy weight loss tea. But here's the real kicker. Every single time one of her business ventures fails, guess who she runs to for money? First stop, mom and dad. When they can't cover it all, or won't, she comes crying to me. And I mean literally crying. Full waterworks, sob story about how her kids need new shoes, school supplies, whatever. Some greatest hits from just the past year. $2,000 for her kids' private music lessons. Spoiler, her kids still can't play any instruments. $1,500 for a business opportunity. It was another MLM. $800 for emergency car repairs. She bought designer boots. $3,000 for private school deposits. The kids are still in public school. Countless smaller loans that we all know she's never paying back. And my parents? They enable all of this. They're constantly telling me how hard Amy has it because raising 3 kids is so expensive, and at least you have a good job. Never mind that I'm a freaking widow raising a kid on my own. The worst part isn't even the money. It's how she treats Lucas. My son, who just lost his dad last year, who's trying so hard to understand the world around him, gets treated like he's some kind of problem child because he, gasp, asks questions and wants to learn things. Last week was a perfect example. We were all at my parents' house again, this was before everything blew up, and Lucas was showing everyone his science fair project. He built this really cool model of the solar system that actually moves. The kid spent weeks on it, with Bob helping him get all the mechanics right. Amy's response? She rolled her eyes and loudly asked when Lucas was going to grow out of this phase and learn to be normal like other kids. Meanwhile, her oldest kid was in the corner trying to convince my 12-year-old cousin to vape, but apparently, that's normal behavior. Oh, and here's a fun fact. While she was criticizing my son's interest in science, she was also texting me under the table, asking if she could borrow $500 for her car payment, the same car payment she already borrowed money for last month and the month before that. I know what you're thinking. Why did I keep giving her money? Why didn't I just say no? Honestly, because it was easier than dealing with the family drama that would follow if I refused. My parents would call me selfish, Amy would cry about how I don't care about her kids, and somehow I'd end up being the bad guy every single time. But trust me, this is all building up to something much bigger. Remember how I mentioned the insurance money from Chris's accident? Yeah, my family had some interesting ideas about that, and by interesting, I mean completely insane. So, about 2 months ago, my mom calls me up on a random Tuesday. Honey, why don't you come over for dinner tonight? Just you. Mary and Bob can watch Lucas, right? First red flag right there, my mom never cooks dinner on weekdays unless she wants something. But, like an idiot, I agreed. I show up at their house and immediately notice 3 things. 1. Mom made her special lasagna, the one she only makes when she's about to drop a bomb. 2. Dad was being super chatty. He usually just grunts and watches TV. 3. They'd broken out the fancy wine glasses, the ones from Target they save for special occasions. At this point, alarm bells are going off in my head like crazy. But I'm thinking, maybe they just want to talk about Amy's latest financial disaster or something. Oh boy, was I wrong. We get through most of dinner with the usual small talk. How's work? How's Lucas? Have I thought about getting back out there? Then Mom puts down her fork, gets this weird look on her face, and drops the bomb. So Olivia, we've been wondering, exactly how much was Chris's life insurance payout? I literally choked on my water, like full-on spit take, had to grab a napkin, the whole deal. The audacity of this question. But here's the really stupid part, I actually answered them. Maybe it was shock, maybe it was years of being conditioned to tell them everything, I don't know. About $300,000, I said. You guys, I swear I could see the dollar signs in their eyes. My mom's fork actually clattered against her plate. Dramatic much? And my dad sat up so straight you'd think someone shoved a rod up his... Well, you get the idea. Well, Mom says in that super sweet voice she uses when she wants something. What are you planning to do with all that money? I explained that I've invested most of it for Lucas's future. College fund, maybe help with a down payment on a house when he's older, responsible parent stuff. But they were already shaking their heads before I finished talking. Dad jumps in with, "You should be thinking about the present, Olivia. About yourself and your family." And the way he said family made it pretty clear he wasn't talking about Lucas. Then they start tag-teaming me with this whole speech about how family needs to support family, and how money shouldn't just sit in a bank when people need help now. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there thinking about how they never offered to help me when Chris died, but whatever. The best, worst part? They had a whole list ready of things they thought I should be spending the insurance money on. Home repairs for their house. Apparently their roof is about to cave in. A new car for Amy because her third totaled car this year wasn't her fault either. Private school for Amy's kids despite them being perfectly fine in public school. A family vacation which somehow didn't include Lucas in the plans. I shut that down real quick. Told them I wasn't discussing my money anymore. You should have seen their faces. You'd think I just announced I was giving the money to a cat sanctuary or something. The rest of dinner was super awkward. Mom kept making these little sighing noises, and Dad just stared at his plate like it had personally offended him. I left as soon as I could, thinking, hoping that would be the end of it. The next day, Amy starts blowing up my phone with texts about how she heard about my windfall, her word, not mine, and how she's been praying for a miracle to help with her latest MLM startup costs, because apparently my husband's death was an answer to her prayers for pyramid scheme capital. I ignored her texts, which led to more texts, then Facebook messages, then emails. She even tried to reach me through LinkedIn, for heaven's sake. Each message got progressively more guilt-trippy. I thought family helped family. Must be nice to have so much money you can ignore your nieces and nephews' needs. And my personal favorite, Chris would have wanted to help the family. That last one nearly made me throw my phone across the room. The nerve of using my dead husband to guilt me into giving her money. Chris actually couldn't stand Amy, used to call her the family leech behind her back. So, after the lasagna dinner disaster, I thought my parents might give me the silent treatment for a while. That's their usual move when I don't do what they want, they just ignore me until I cave. But nope, a week later Mom calls me up, all sweetness and light, like nothing ever happened. "Honey, we're having a special family dinner on Sunday. You have to come. Amy has some big news to share." Now, Amy's big news usually means one of three things. 1, she's starting another doomed MLM venture. 2, she's gotten herself into more debt. 3, she's found some new way to mooch off the family. But Mom was being super insistent, and I'm a certified idiot when it comes to hoping my family will change. So I agreed to go. I should have known something was up when I walked in and saw the setup. Mom had made all my favorite foods, red flag number 1. Dad was wearing his business meeting shirt instead of his usual stained t-shirt, red flag number 2. Amy was actually on time for once, nuclear level red flag. They'd set up the good folding table with the fancy plastic tablecloth. You know, the one every family has, that one nice plastic tablecloth they save for holidays. The first half hour was just Amy talking about how hard things are these days, how bills keep piling up, how her kids need new everything, how inflation is killing her, conveniently ignoring that she just posted pics of her new $300 hair extensions on Instagram last week. Then Mom starts in with her part. "Your father and I barely have enough for a normal life anymore." Meanwhile, they just got back from a week-long cruise, but okay. Dad's nodding along, talking about rising grocery prices like he doesn't spend $200 a week on his golf hobby. I'm sitting there thinking this is just another standard family guilt trip session, when Amy suddenly sits up straight and puts on what I call her PTA mom voice. You know, that fake sweet tone that means she's about to suggest something awful. I've been thinking, she announces dangerous activity for her. Olivia and I should help Mom and Dad financially. I nearly choked on my mashed potatoes. But wait, it gets better. I'll send them $500 every month, she continues, looking like she's suggesting something super generous. I know it's not much, but with Jack's job and the kids. Then she turns to me with this smile that I swear would make the Cheshire Cat uncomfortable. "But you, Olivia, you should send them $1,000 monthly. It makes sense. You earn really well at your job, and you only have one child to support. Plus, with your situation, you have other income." The audacity of this woman. My situation? You mean being a widow? And that other income she's so casually referring to is my dead husband's life insurance money that's supposed to help me raise our son. But here's the really stupid part. I agreed. I actually agreed. I know, I can hear you all screaming at your screens right now, but you have to understand. This is what my family does. They wear you down until saying yes feels easier than dealing with the drama of saying no. Mom was literally clapping her hands like a kid at Disney World. Dad had this smug look on his face, like he just pulled off some master plan. Spoiler alert, he had. And Amy? She was already on her phone, probably ordering more essential oils or whatever. The next day, I set up the automatic transfer, $1,000 straight to my mom's account, first of every month. Guys, it physically hurt to click that confirm button, but I told myself it was worth it if it meant more family support with Lucas. Wanna know the best part? Found out later that Amy never sent a single penny. Not one. She and my parents had planned the whole thing. She was supposed to pretend she was contributing so I wouldn't feel like I was being taken advantage of. Spoiler alert, I was absolutely being taken advantage of. And those promised favors in return? Those times they'd help with Lucas? Yeah, suddenly everyone was always too busy, or not feeling well whenever I needed help. But that $1,000? That left my account like clockwork every month. Looking back, I can't believe how naive I was. But this isn't even the worst part. Oh no, the real fun started when Christmas rolled around. December was actually starting out pretty good. Lucas was super excited about Christmas. He'd been working on this adorable list for Santa, mostly science kits and books. I know, my little nerd. Mary and Bob had helped him make this amazing gingerbread house that actually had working lights inside. Bob's an electrical engineer and loves doing projects with him. Then, exactly 1 week before Christmas, my mom calls. I'll never forget this conversation because it was so bizarre from the start. Olivia, honey, always a bad sign when she starts with honey, about Christmas Eve, we've decided to do something different this year. We're having an adults-only party, no children allowed. I literally sat there, staring at my phone, for a solid minute. Christmas Eve at my parents' house was like the family tradition. Everyone always came over, the kids would play with their cousins, we'd do the whole gift exchange thing. We hadn't missed it once, not even last year right after Chris died. But it's Christmas, I said. Genius response, I know. What am I supposed to do with Lucas? Oh, that's easy, Mom chirped, like she was suggesting where to buy groceries. You can leave him with Mary and Bob. They'd love to have him. Just come by around 7. I spent the next week going back and forth about what to do. Lucas was obviously disappointed when I told him, but being the amazing kid he is, he tried to hide it. It's okay, Mom. Grandma Mary said we can make cookies and watch Christmas movies. I swear, my in-laws are actual angels. Finally, I decided to compromise. I'd leave Lucas with Mary and Bob for a few hours, make a quick appearance at my parents' house to exchange gifts and say hi, then head back to have a proper Christmas celebration with my son and in-laws. So, Christmas Eve rolls around, and I pull up to my parents' house around 7:15. The driveway is packed with cars. Way more than usual for our family gatherings. I can hear Christmas music and lots of voices from inside. I grab my bag of gifts and head to the door, and guys, what I saw when I opened that door, I still get angry just thinking about it. The house was full of kids. Not just a few kids. All the kids. Amy's 3 were running around with paper crowns on their heads. My cousin Linda's kids were by the Christmas tree, eating cookies. My cousin Mark's twins were playing some game on their Switch in the corner. My cousin Susan's teenager was taking selfies by the fireplace. Every single kid in the family was there. Except Lucas. I stood in that doorway for what felt like forever, just trying to process what I was seeing. The gift bag felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my hand. The Christmas music that had sounded cheerful from outside now felt like it was mocking me. My Aunt Marie spotted me first. Olivia, sweetheart, she rushed over to hug me, then looked around expectantly. Where's our little scientist? Don't tell me he's sick on Christmas Eve. Before I could answer, my cousin Peter chimed in. Yeah, where's Lucas? Jake's been wanting to show him his new chemistry set. More relatives started gathering around, all asking the same question. Where was Lucas? Why wasn't he with me? Each question felt like a knife twisting in my gut. Through the crowd, I spotted my mom in the kitchen, arranging cookies on a Christmas-themed platter. Like everything was perfectly normal. Like she hadn't just excluded her only grandson from a family Christmas celebration. And Amy? She was sitting on the couch, watching the whole scene unfold with this little smirk on her face, while her youngest kid was literally throwing deviled eggs at his sister. But apparently, that was acceptable behavior. I must have made some kind of noise because people started giving me concerned looks. Mom finally looked up from her cookies and had the nerve to wave at me, like nothing was wrong. That's when I snapped, standing in my parents' doorway on Christmas Eve, realizing they'd specifically excluded my son from what was clearly not an adults-only party. I'd like to say I handled it gracefully, that I calmly asked for an explanation, that I took the high road. "Mom," I said, my voice so controlled it scared even me, "can we talk privately?" Something in my tone must have spooked her because she actually put down her precious cookie platter. I followed her into the hallway, away from prying eyes and ears. Though, let's be real, in my family someone was definitely trying to eavesdrop. "You told me this was an adults-only party," I said, still doing my best to keep my voice steady. "You specifically told me not to bring Lucas. So why are all the other kids here?" Mom straightened her stupid Christmas sweater, the one with actual working lights that she spent $200 on while telling me she was struggling, refusing to meet my eyes. "Well, that's different," she said, like she was explaining something obvious. "Different how?" "Those children," she gestured vaguely toward the living room, "know how to behave at formal gatherings. They're well-mannered. You all remember how I said earlier that I snapped? This was the moment, the exact moment, when 34 years of being the other child, of watching my son be treated as less than, of being manipulated and guilt-tripped and used as an ATM. It all just exploded. I walked straight into the middle of the living room. The Christmas music was still playing. I think it was Silent Night, which is hilariously ironic in retrospect. And conversations were buzzing all around. I cleared my throat, loud, the kind of throat clear that makes people shut up and pay attention. "Several of you have asked why I came alone tonight," I began, my voice way steadier than I felt. "Why Lucas isn't here celebrating Christmas with his family." Amy started to move toward me, probably to shut me up, but I held up my hand. "Let me finish. I'm here alone because a week ago, Mom called and told me this was an adults-only party. I was specifically told not to bring Lucas." Aunt Marie's voice cut through the silence. "But all the children are here. We didn't know anything about a ban on children," Uncle Steve added, looking confused and increasingly angry. Mom stepped forward, her face flushed. "Olivia, this isn't the time." "Oh, I think this is exactly the time," I continued, my voice rising slightly, "because you see, there wasn't really a ban on children. There was a ban on one child, my son, who apparently isn't good enough for this family's Christmas celebration." The room erupted in murmurs. I saw shocked faces, disapproving looks directed at my parents, and confused children watching the adult drama unfold. "But that's not even the best part," I laughed, but there was zero humor in it. "While my son isn't good enough to attend Christmas, I'm apparently good enough to send my parents $1,000 every month. And Amy here sends $500. And that's when the real chaos started. Dave, Amy's husband. His head snapped up so fast I thought he'd hurt himself. "Wait, what? $500? From where?" The color drained from Amy's face as Dave turned to her. "You're sending your parents money every month? From what account? We barely cover the bills as it is." Amy's perfect composure cracked. Her face went from pale to red faster than Rudolph's nose. I never actually sent any money," she stammered. "Mom and Dad asked me to say I was sending $500 so Olivia would agree to help them financially." The silence that followed was deafening, like you could hear Aunt Marie's vintage Christmas brooch ticking. That's how quiet it got. I watched comprehension dawn on my relatives' faces as they pieced together what had happened, how my parents and sister had manipulated me into supporting them, while simultaneously excluding my child from family events. "You're telling me," Aunt Caroline's voice rang out, sharp and clear, "that you scammed your own daughter out of $1,000 a month? You're nothing but scammers, using your own daughter like an ATM while treating her kid like dirt. That's low, even for you two." The room exploded, and I mean exploded. First, Uncle Mike stood up and announced he couldn't stay in the house another minute. Then Aunt Marie and Uncle Steve started gathering their kids' stuff. Pretty soon, everyone was heading for their coats. The best part? People were making these loud comments as they left. "I can't believe they'd scam their own daughter, using their grandson's college fund. Disgusting. and on Christmas Eve, of all nights. No wonder Chris never liked them. Thanks for that one, Uncle Steve. I didn't stick around for the rest. I grabbed my bag of gifts, ended up donating them to the children's hospital, seemed fitting, and walked out. The sound of that door closing behind me felt like closing a chapter of my life. But here's where it gets good. Remember how I said Lucas was having Christmas science experiments with Mary and Bob? When I got back to their house, they had turned their entire living room into this winter wonderland science lab. There were safe chemical reactions making snow, experiments with dry ice creating frost, and Bob had rigged up this whole light display to demonstrate how the northern lights work. Lucas was in absolute heaven. He didn't even ask about the family party. He was too busy learning about the physics of snowflakes or something equally nerdy and adorable. The next morning, while Lucas was still asleep, surrounded by his Santa presents, including this massive chemistry set that Mary and Bob definitely helped Santa pick out, my phone started blowing up. Mom, we need to talk about what happened. Dad, you're being dramatic. Amy, how could you ruin Christmas? Also Amy, hey, hun, speaking of Christmas, have you heard about this amazing new essential oil blend? It's perfect for holiday stress. Only $89.99. I blocked them all, but then the good messages started coming in. Aunt Caroline calling to tell me how the rest of the night went down after I left. Uncle Mike offering to help me set up a proper investment account for Lucas's college fund. Cousin Linda inviting us to her son's science fair next month. Even Dave texting to apologize for not seeing what was happening sooner. The funny thing about cutting toxic people out of your life is how much room it makes for better relationships to grow. In the month since Christmas, Lucas has been thriving with all the positive attention from family members who actually value his curiosity. My aunts and uncles have been including us in everything. I've gotten closer to my cousins than we ever were growing up. The money I was sending to my parents is now going into Lucas's college fund plus some extra from Uncle Mike's investment tips. Mary and Bob continue to be absolute angels. Last week, Lucas asked Uncle Mike how his pool filter works. Instead of telling him to be quiet or handing him an iPad, Mike spent an hour explaining water filtration systems. My kid was fascinated, and Mike was stoked to have someone actually interested in learning. Oh, and because people keep asking for updates, Dave and Amy are still together but in serious counseling. Amy's tried to contact me through at least 12 different MLM Facebook accounts. My parents sent some fancy gift for Lucas. I donated it. Mom still tells everyone I ruined Christmas. I'm okay with that. I finally went to therapy myself, and it's been amazing. Lucas is talking about wanting to be a scientist like Bob when he grows up. So, yeah. That's the end of my story. Losing my family helped me realize who my real family was all along. Lucas is happy, I'm happier, and life is actually pretty good without the constant drama and manipulation.